Hello and welcome to the GMS Magazine channel. I am Paco Garcia, your host, and this is the Board Game Interview Room. This is a show that I haven't done for a very long time, and actually this is possibly the first time that I do it on a video chat to have it in a YouTube channel. In the past it was just for the podcast, which you might still be hearing now. I haven't done this for a very long time. That is hopefully probably going to change in the next couple of months, but I wanted to do this interview quite badly, and unfortunately I haven't been able to do it before, which would have been really nice. The reason I wanted to do this interview about Sea of Legends is very relevant to today's conflict that we are experiencing in the United States, and is, being supported by so many absolutely amazing people. Needless to say, yes, Black Lives Matter quite a lot, and I'm siding with that, and that's one of the reasons that Sea of Legends, the Kickstarter project that has been created by the Weisner father and son duo and my interviewee today, Ryan Schapals, is quite an important game, because the crew of people that they have gathered to develop the richness of the storytelling side of this game is absolutely fantastic. They have made a proper effort in bringing people, all sorts of absolutely unbelievable people, to cater for everyone, thus proving the point that diversity brings richness, that it can be done very well indeed, and it works. They've made an absolutely fantastic effort to get that perfected as best as they possibly can, and the $500,000 that they have gathered in Kickstarter, it's plenty good testament. And I'm quite sure that by the time the game is out, we are going to be absolutely blown away by how incredible it is. I could keep going for the whole episode just talking about that. But luckily enough, Ryan had a lot more things to say. So even though the campaign is already over, I think we all have an awful lot to learn from this. And to be perfectly honest, I would join the queue for the pre-sale or the late pledge or whatever it is that they are going to have in place for you to get your hands on this game. Because absolutely everything, from the crew of people that they have gathered to make it, to the look and feel of the game, to the minis and the concept, looks and feel absolutely incredible, whether you are a board gamer or a role player. So, please do take a listen or have a look if you're watching this in our YouTube channel instead of listening to the podcast. Remember to subscribe to either or both, if you please, and leave us some comments and a review, which helps a lot, and it's truly appreciated. But without any further ado, here's Ryan Schapals. Ryan Schapals, first time in the show. Welcome to the GMS Magazine show, man. It's good to have you around. How is it going?
Oh, it's going great. Pretty ecstatic right now about the campaign, and I'm really happy to be here talking to you.
Good, and I'm really glad to have you. And I'm sorry we haven't been able to do this sooner, because it would have been amazing to be able to do it before, when the campaign had longer to go. But it's just mental. Quite incredibly, insanely mental. So haven't been able, but we're going to make the most of this situation and talking about an awful lot of things. But I have never really spoken to you before. So
nope, this is it. This is the first time. So I've got no idea what I'm wading into.
Exactly, but neither do I. So I need to make sure that you know you're a well-trained human and know how to answer questions. Because you could be a politician and then answer nothing.
So, so you have to vet me, is what you're saying, yeah.
Correct, absolutely. Profile you a little bit. So I'm going to ask you 5 questions to get us started, and we'll take it from there. So Question number 1. This is a truly important one. Tea or coffee?
Ooh, I mean, is both allowed? All right,
Yeah.
I start with 1 cup of coffee in the morning. That's the reason to get out of bed. Followed up with tea so that I don't become like an anxious mess in the afternoon.
Okay, fine. That's, perfectly acceptable. You are best of both worlds. Fantastic. Good,
Yes.
good. Okay. The beach or the mountain?
I'm gonna go with beach because I'm a little bit vain and I want to be tan and like semi-naked.
Okay, it's perfectly good reason too. I love that. Okay. Cars or motorbikes?
Neither. Bicycles.
Okay, well, okay, motorless motorbikes. Good. I like it. Now, this is a little bit harder. Fantasy or science fiction?
Oh, you're gonna make me choose. All right, I gotta take it back to fantasy. I think originally it's D&D. It's books like Lord of the Rings, Wheel of Time that really made me into the nerd I am today.
Okay, so good, fantasy. Good. And now, I always think this is the hardest, but everybody thinks it's the easiest. Zombies or vampires?
Ooh, I think vampires need a comeback. We've had enough time with zombies. We've explored all their intricacies. I like the class, the class themes and ramifications of vampires. So yeah, now is a good time for that.
Good. Right. So we've established you can answer questions. So now we need to ask. Well, I need to ask you questions about. I know. Right. This was. I bet nobody told you that this was going to be so hard.
Being grilled.
Okay, let's get into business. You are a novel designer, publisher with an absolutely outstanding project on Kickstarter at the time of recording this interview, who's associated himself with a freaking legend. How did that happen? Who the hell are you to be where you are?
Well, the most obvious thing I can tell you is dumb luck.
Okay.
I'm very fortunate and privileged in the fact that when I went to college in Chicago at this university called DePaul University, where I was studying creative writing and developmental psychology. And one of my friends I made there was Nate Weisman, who is also a game designer and one of many Weisman game designers out in the world now. But we were roommates for a couple years. We played in the same D&D group. We drank too much. All those collegiate activities we engaged in, and I was at the time I was really focused on novel writing. I was like when I was in college and the first years post college, I was writing a novel every year because I was a madman. And
That's actually quite prolific.
Yeah, I don't think any of them were any good, but I thought it was good practice at the time. So basically, he's like was just like, dude, he's like you should try to like share some of your work. At the very time, I was very secretive and very worried about sharing my work. He's like, yeah, no, come on, apply to like work on Golem Arcana, this new project that Harebrained Schemes is doing. My dad's working on it. You give us a sample and we'll do like a test, they'll do like a test run with you. And if they like it, you come aboard. If not, no worries. I should say also at the time I had volunteered with Harebrained Schemes at Gen Con. So I came aboard just to help them show off Golem Arcana back in like 2014, 2015. I don't know. It feels like, no, it was actually before that. It was even earlier than that. Anyways, I don't remember. But the important thing was I ran demo tables and ran like a big sort of, not quite tournament, but a big battle table where I was the announcer and I was shouting and I was giving people some of the minis. And I guess I made a good impression by how obnoxious I was. And so then I got to learn about Golem Arcana. I applied to become a writer on that. And then I became, I guess, I don't know how to say it, but I ended up coming aboard a little later on and then ended up writing like the most amount of stories for Golem Arcana, and that was like my first time working with Jordan and Zach and Nate on a game officially. That
sounds actually like you were very, very busy and this came to you because it was meant to happen.
Maybe. I guess there's a lot to be said for you don't always know when like opportunities are going to come your way. So like you kind of just have to prepare. and like hone whatever you want your craft to be. And so I was luckily, because I was being such a madman and like spending all my time in coffee shops writing, it paid off that like when this happened, I managed to pull it off.
No, well, that's hey, good on you. That's that's how things are done. Okay, so you have this idea about Sea of Legends, and it managed to coalesce into something. What was the developmental process like for you? Because I know that a game begins as something and usually ends up as something completely different, richer, better, more refined. What was the process like for you as a designer?
Yeah, so I was just finishing up on the expansions for Battletech as a narrative designer with harebrained schemes, and Jordan just pitched me on this idea. He's like, hey, I want to do a big, bold pirate game full of this, sort of dynamic storytelling, like a lot with like what we're doing with Battletech. And do you want to try it? Do you want to do another startup? And I was like, you know what? I'm still under 30. Let's do it. Forget the easy life of being in an established studio. Let's give it another shot. And it really did just start like as simply as like, we've got a theme that we really want to nail. We want lighthearted, we want colorful characters, we want a grand, fun, classic sense of pirate stories, but we also want to refresh, put a little fresh twist on it. And so, they had some different mechanics they've been playing. Like originally everything was resolved through like a press your luck deck card game mechanic, which while it was cool, it was just so slow. And that was like a big problem because you also have these story elements, which tend to also be the longest turn when you're reading these stories out and making a decision and uncovering these branching narratives. So it was really key that we kept the game fast paced and moving, especially when you can play up to 4 and now 5 players in a session. We quickly learned that long turns would kill all the momentum of the game. And so we came a long way from there. We tried all sorts of different things. We tried like micro actions, more like if you've ever played like Lords of Hellas, where you'd be like filling them out. You'd like use an action and then you couldn't use it again until you used all your actions. And eventually, though, we came to where it's like very simple. 3 actions. You're either going to move and take a port action. You're going to move and attack an NPC or player, or move and go on an adventure. And so simplifying down to those core things and making them as lightweight and bite-sized as possible was really essential to making the game work, and then having them add up to this larger, bigger story arc by the end. So you have this memorable experience that all feels tied together, and that's part of why the app's so important.
Okay, so we've gone very much already into the the mechanics and the game itself, but and we know it's about pirates. Now, there is an aspect of the game that I am more interested in than any other, because I am a role-playing game nutter and I love storytelling. I love stories. And Sea of Legends is meant to be a narrative kind of board game with lots of minis and cool stuff on the table. Tell me a little bit, how does it work? What is the narrative aspect of the game like?
Yeah, and I guess I should back up and probably just explain like the core premise of how you play the game and win. That's probably important information. Yes. So, Sea of Legends, it is a open world sandbox narrative-driven tabletop game, which there's a lot of buzzwords and stuff. But what it really comes down to is you're all competing. You and the other players are captains with your own ships and crews, and you're all trying to get up to 10 notoriety. First person to get 10 notoriety and end the round with 10 notoriety will win. Now, on top of all that, you have these different world factions and stuff that come into play that you choose that also have their own objectives, and they can also win the game and make all the players lose. And so when you're playing the game, basically you might be dealing with the minis on the board. You might be like hunting down relics and pulling more cards from the various crew and ship and rumor decks. But then you were asking about the story and the narrative specifically. So in addition to all that, you can also be engaging in one of 3 storylines that you start out with, because you are playing as a captain who has a lover and a nemesis to start. So, yes, so you've got like history going on once you jump into the game, and so you get to pull from the stack of cards. You'll get 3 random lover nemesis cards, and then pick which ones you want to play with. They're all double-sided, so you can play them however you want. in addition to your captain. And so each time you go on like an adventure with your lover, you can think of this as being like a sort of companion quest from a game like Dragon Age. So this is like your lover comes up to you and you're like, look, all right, I need to get revenge on the Spanish. They've been mucking around the Caribbean. They threw my friends in jail. They confiscated all my money. I'm pretty upset with them. And so, and they'll lay out their plans. Be like, well, we could bust my buddies out of jail, and they'll help us, go get revenge. Or maybe we go try to find their safe house where they're keeping all my money and liberate that. And so it really just starts with, your lover giving you a prompt for what they want to accomplish. And we assume, since they're your lover, you do want to help them in some way. So you can't just like flat out say no, but you get to give direction and guidance in how to tackle these problems. Your nemesis, on the other hand, they're constantly a thorn in your side. So from a card perspective, they have an ability that triggers off your dice rolls, and they can gain more abilities that trigger off your dice rolls that make your life more difficult. Your lover works the opposite, and each time you go on an adventure with them, they unlock more of those beneficial abilities to help you through combat and other challenges when you're rolling dice. So with your nemesis, you're trying to, get rid of them. And there are a couple different ways you might do that. You might just like go, plan to take them out, hunt down, all their allies, and find maybe a disgruntled ex-mate to infiltrate them. Or you could maybe bury the hatchet, maybe even woo them, maybe even turn them into a lover if you are particularly talented at negotiating. That's kind of up to you. So you'll have these moments where you can potentially gain more lovers or more nemeses, depending on what stories you're encountering and the choices you make. And you're also going to run into characters from other players' tableaus too. So your lover or nemesis might show up in my game, and the choices I make with them could make them stronger or weaker, depending on if I side with them. And while you're managing those stories, you also have the main quest, which is your captain's story, which is all about how they interact with the factions in play. So it's like, for example, we have the Dread Tide, who are these undead conquistadors. They were searching for the Fountain of Youth, and they claimed it, and it cursed them, of course. And so they're now trying to reconquer all of the Caribbean. And so you might decide, these guys seem pretty bad to me. I don't want to work with them. I'm going to stand up against them. I'm going to actually, throw in with the Children of Tlaloc, which are these Mayan-inspired merfolk that are some of the first children of the Mayan gods. And you could alternatively say, you know what, I want ultimate power and to be immortal. I'm going to help the bad guys. And so you get to potentially align with these different factions and work with them, or just maybe ride their coattails for a little bit and then be like, okay, just kidding. Let's not summon a giant undead colossus to stomp all over our ports. Yes. So that was a pretty in-depth answer, but
the thing is, that answer, and I don't say this lightly because it takes quite a lot for this to happen, but it makes me really excited about the game. It makes me really excited about, there's so many possibilities in here. There's so much agency that me as a player is going to have, and the character is going to have, and the play is going to have. That sounds really, really playable.
That's the hope. We're pretty ambitious. We really we're looking at games that we enjoyed, like 1001 Nights, Above and Below. Let's see, I played this War of Mine, the board game, and we just wanted to try to evolve and take that storytelling aspect to the next level. And so that's something that the app just allowed us to do, as it allows us to get more involved. We're like, hey, when in your quest, maybe you team up with the undead and you help them hunt down one of the merfolk leaders, and maybe you defeat them. Now all of a sudden, another one of the merfolk champions is going to come up to me and be like, we got to get revenge. All right, so let's go storm, their crypt over on Tortuga and get revenge. So we also get to have this interconnection between our stories, and there just would have been impossible to do.
There was, absolutely, yes. However, there are an awful lot of people, even nowadays, even though there have been some games that have proven beyond a doubt that, combining apps and tabletop games can be an absolutely fantastic tool. But there are an awful lot of people who are skeptic about the whole thing. How have you made it so it is as approachable for everybody as it can be?
Yeah, and to be fair, I think people, they have a right to be skeptical because it hasn't always been handled well in the past. And
True.
we're fortunate in that we have spent a lot of time working in software development, working on video games, working on app-based games. This is actually my third app-based tabletop game. Okay. Starting back with Golem Arcana, I later worked as general manager for Monocle Society, working on a game called Weave, which was a tabletop RPG that integrates an app. And so we've made plenty of mistakes in the past. And we've learned from them, though. And so what's really important to us with this app is that it wasn't just going to like disappear overnight, and that it'd be available on a wide range of platforms. So our app will actually be available for iOS, Android, Windows, and also we're going to be putting out a web browser version to basically make it as accessible as possible and needs as little work as possible to maintain. The app itself was actually been in development for really a long time. Like I think it's actually like 4 years now since like Jordan originally, Jordan and I were originally planning this idea. And so what's great too about it in terms of like, you know, our responsibilities is that it is built so that non-engineers like me can update it, maintain it, add new content. So we don't have to, you know, keep a software engineer on for our project, because that's something that like a tabletop company just can't really usually sustain from like from a practical economic level. And then in addition, we've just pledged, we're like, you know, we know this is a big concern. People don't want their board games to stop working in the future. That's one of the draws of buying a board game, right? It feels like it can last forever.
Yes.
And so for us, you know, we've pledged, we said, hey, we're going to maintain this app for, you know, the foreseeable future. If the worst happens and for some reason, you know, we weren't able to keep sustaining it, then we would release the code to the community and say, it's yours, you know, do what you want with it, and keep playing if you want to keep playing. And, you know, unfortunately, we can't like commit to just keeping it up forever and ever. Like, you know, and if like the company doesn't exist anymore or something, or the internet, I don't know, changes in some way we don't expect. But that's, you know, what we want to do is saying we don't want this app to disappear, and we're trying to take every precaution to make that happen.
Which makes perfect sense. Now, I know that some of the concerns that people have usually about apps is how much juice does the machine need in order to be able to use it. So what can you tell me about the technical needs of the app? How big is it? What telephone, what tablet do you need to actually run it? Smoothly, of course.
That's a good question. I'm not the most technical person, so I can tell you what I know. So like, for example, I have run this game at conventions and stuff. Conventions, notoriously one of the worst places to have to use a phone or tablet. And so it runs on, I've had it running on all sorts of different iPhones. Like I run it on iPhone 7. It's fairly lightweight, luckily. So I've actually used it all day at a convention without running out of battery. I think there's a couple of reasons why. And like, one, it's not like a huge resource hog for the most part. You know, it's not like we're throwing fancy 3D models running around the screen everywhere. And then additionally, the thing is, you know, you might be using the app, I don't know, maybe 25% of the time. The app is not designed to take over the whole gameplay experience. And this is really core to our philosophies. Like the app needs to feel like the dice. It needs to feel like an essential tool and part of the game. And so in this case, you know, it's whenever you want to take that adventure action, you pick up the app and you read what's happening next. Same way as like anytime I want to attack a player, I pick up the dice. But the majority of my attention and time is spent looking at the map, looking at the board, and dealing with other players. So this really is a tabletop experience at its heart.
Good. No, I like the sound of that quite a lot. Tell me a little bit about who is behind you as the designer and publishers, because I mean, in the website, which I would recommend everybody to go, there is an absolutely amazing list of contributors, as in top notch. Tell me a little bit about that aspect of the game.
Yeah, there's like 26 people. I was like, at least 26 writers alone. So there's a couple different ways like to sort of split it up. So like we have a core team that we are really intentional about finding, you know, having this game set in the Caribbean and wanting to explore Caribbean, indigenous, and Mesoamerican myth and stories. It really felt important to me and to all of us. that we were bringing in writers who had experience tackling these themes of colonialism, again, of indigenous cultures, and to make sure that we were doing our utmost best to depict them. So we brought in a bunch of different talented RPG writers and consultants. So our core team is Ali Bustian, Banana Chan, Bashir Gauss, Brandon O'Brien, which I'll point out a couple different things. Like Bashir's done like a lot of great stuff focusing on anti-colonial themes, dealing with the British Empire and his games. Brandon O'Brien, actually, he's from Trinidad. He's in Trinidad right now. So he is bringing such a authenticity to everything he's writing, as he has lived with the experience of being in the Caribbean, and he's seen the ways it's been represented, not always necessarily with the best or the most thorough sort of representation. And I was so glad to work with Dominic Dickey, who really cool designer. They actually were the first like intern that I know of to work at Monty Cook Games, and I was just like, that was so cool. We had like just a conversation where I interviewed them all about that. That was fantastic. James Mendes Hodes worked on 7th Sea, Cyan, Monster Hearts. A big reason we brought him on board is he is specialized in cultural consultation. So not only has he helped us portray and depict our cultures and avoid some bad stereotypes or pitfalls, also has put us into contact with other cultural consultants that have continued to look at the game. Like we just hired an anthropologist who specialized in Caribbean religions to review all of our content, and like that's just amazing. I never would have even known where to look for Omar, the consultant there, without him. Kiana Shaw, again, another great creator. Marie Brennan, Nell Raban, Will Heinmark. That's our core team, and then keep going down. There's a huge list here, so I don't want to exhaust people, but we're really lucky. Like I'm working with one of my former mentors, Andrew McIntosh, who was the lead writer for Battletech, Shadowrun, Dragonfall, Hong Kong. Elon Lee, who made Exploding Kittens. James Sutter, who did his co-creator of Pathfinder, Starfinder. Jason Morningstar, who created Fiasco. John Harper, who created Blades in the Darks. Matt Forbeck, who's worked on like everything from Halo to Rage to Marvel. Ryan Black, who's over at Wizards right now. Stephen Rhodes, who was just last doing Assassin's Creed Odyssey and just moved to the States to work at Sledgehammer, who people know probably from doing Call of Duty. Tyler Sigmund, who created Darkest Dungeon. I mean, it's just like, we are so fortunate. I think part of the reason we've been able to work with all these fantastic people is that they see what we're doing, they see the intentionality of the team that we're building, and they also want to support those voices as much as we do. And then also some of them are like, Jordan Weisman is like one of my design heroes, so of course I'll work with you guys. So it doesn't hurt that Jordan has had a long career in games, and we're very fortunate to have him as a mentor and leader on our team. And he's a designer that a lot of people have like grown up with, essentially.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, he is legendary, quite literally. So yeah, he's like quite something. And I'm going to admit, when I was going to do the interview, I thought, oh my god, if Jordan comes in, I'm going to geek out.
Starstruck.
I am going to stutter. So which takes quite a lot for me to stutter. But oh my god, what's this going to be like? So anyway, okay. So
well, we'll have to arrange that for the future so that I can see that.
Okay, that would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing. The one thing I have, and I have to say this, not just because I am very passionate about it, but because of the times that we are living right now, I am absolutely loving seeing the amount of diversity that there is in that team that you all have put together. I mean, it's awe-inspiring to see so many names, so many faces, so much richness in one team, and it's humbling. It is truly humbling. So thank you for doing that, seriously, because I think it's an example that way more companies should follow and lead, not just for the sake of diversity, but actually because of the richness that's actually bringing to the game. It is absolutely amazing that you guys are doing that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, that's the hope, right? Is that we can be an example that this is a model that works, and it's I learn so much every time I talk to our writing team because they just have unique perspectives and experiences that I haven't had. And to me, that's like the point of storytelling is I want to experience other worlds, other cultures, other stories. That's why I love playing D&D. And so this is just a way of bringing that to more people. And yeah, I'm excited to see what happens going forward with, other big projects like this. And also the Caribbean is a super diverse place. So it's like, I really think our characters and our team had to reflect that.
Yes, no, I think that makes perfect sense. And I think that's going to add an awful lot to the experience of the game, which is absolutely wonderful. Now, we still haven't spoken about what the production of the game is going to be like. Now, I have taken a quick look at the Kickstarter page, and oh my God, those minis look gorgeous.
Yes.
Oh, they are absolutely breathtaking. Where did you get them from?
Well, okay, so we're again, it's really important to be lucky. We just have found some amazing artists. That's where it started with. Jocelyn Millay was our first artist and our lead artist who helped us really hone the art style and led a lot of the original character designs. And him and Ekaterina Chesolova, they're both, so he's over in Lyon, she's in St. Petersburg. They have both just done a great job creating the 2D concepts. And then our modeling team, our 3D modelers are really great. We've worked with people like we've got the Edgars, the two Edgars, who've both done things with Simon and Games Workshop. But also like we've actually found some really cool up and coming modelers who've actually done a lot of the work. So for example, like our main modelers are people who are probably relatively unknown in tabletop. Davocao out of Brazil. And where is he? Sipsis over in Greece. They've both been really, really monumental in getting these figures together. Like Sipsis found a friend that he had to like mold and produce our first batch of minis that are the minis we're using for all of our previews and reviews right now for our we have 7 prototypes that we were able to make, and it's all because of him. So they've been really instrumental in our success, and it's like we're so lucky the internet exists because having this team of people all over the world, I think, is the only way we could have really done this.
It's quite interesting that that you're having that dispersed, diverse group. Because today, for my job, I'm a community manager for an IT company, and I was writing precisely about the challenges and how to overcome the challenges of having a dispersed group of people all over the world, and how reducing social distancing somehow, and how to bring people together to enhance trust and communication. It's massively important. How have you managed to keep a cohesion so the art direction of the game was still cohesive and exactly true to the vision of the design?
I think part of that begins with the very unglamorous work of just creating documentation, creating a set of guidelines, which is, it's kind of the stuff that like people don't see behind the scenes, but saying, this is something we, this is our tone, this is what we can depict. It's like our violence level will never be, more than a Marvel movie. Our romance level will never get like sexually explicit or anything. People might kiss, might hold hands, they might make suggestive references, but so things like that helped us define like sort of the scope of what we're depicting. And then we really spent a lot of time again with Jocelyn when we were originally creating the art style to figure out how kind of angular it was, like how cartoony it could get, but also like making sure, well, there's still some seriousness here though, because we're like rooted in realism as well. And so having that artwork and having those documents together and then just communicating with our artists, that's really, there's really no secret other than that, is like providing as much reference material as you can and just communicating as well as you can and being willing to take chances. Like we were able to find these artists that were less well known but had like a lot of promise and a lot of talent, and so they took a chance on us, we took a chance on them, and not everyone we reached out to totally worked out for one reason or another, but we were able to find really, really talented people that we're going to continue working with from here on out on our future projects as well.
Good, because I mean they look amazing. I'm talking about looking amazing. A question of rigor: what are people going to find inside the box when they open it?
What are they going to find? Well, I guess like on a very broad level, there's two levels that you can pledge. You can get basically the base game with 4 different factions. So what that means is you're going to get, so if you're a base game pledger, you're going to get the 4 starter captains along with their captain cards. You're going to get the 8 base Lover Nemesis cards, and then additional ones we've unlocked through stretch goals. And as well, you're going to get a deck of crew cards, a deck of ships, a deck of tavern cards, which have relics and items and tavern games that you experience as you visit the tavern and pick up rumors about finding these items. You're also going to get, so with each faction, the way the factions work is you have access to the minis. So each faction typically has one large figure, could be anywhere between like 60 and 110 millimeters, and then some smaller 32 millimeter scale miniatures as well. And so they work together in addition to different cards, which have special items, again, special crews, special lovers and nemesis, stuff like that you will encounter throughout your game. And then they also come with their own storyline. So the factions are defining the main story your captain's going on and giving you access to basically special gear and special characters. And so that's what you'll find in the base game. And then with the all-in pledge, you're going to get double that. You're going to get 4 more factions. You're going to get 4 more captains. You're going to get even more lovers and nemesis, and a couple few special extra stretch goal items that we weren't able to include in the base game as well.
That sounds...
And then a bunch of tokens and a game map, I should say, and a rule book. All those important things are in there.
How many stories, how many adventures are going to come in the game?
Yeah, so right now, if you are in on the all-in pledge level, you're looking at now 950 unique adventures, each adventure being what you experience on the turn. And these adventures combine in different ways dynamically via the app. So you're looking at even more storylines than that as we find the most interesting way to combine all the modular pieces. So that's just, it's a lot.
Yeah, no kidding. Now, are there going to be any kind of tools or guidance for people who want to create their own adventures, their own stories within the game? Or is it going to be a closed system that you're going to be feeding on in the future?
You know, I'm not really sure what's going to happen with that aspect of things. I think personally, I would love at some point to release it, make it, open to make it so everyone can, create their own, modules essentially, or whatever we end up calling them, create their own builds. I don't know. We'll work on that. And so that's just a question of us getting to the place where we can comfortably spend time developing that and then creating the resources for new users to learn the system. Because while the new system doesn't require an engineer, which is great, it is certainly not 100% user friendly. So I would not want to release it till I have a really good set of guidelines. We're also working on improving the back end, like as we speak, just for our purposes, so it's easier for us to implement. Okay. So we're going to keep refining it. But that's maybe it's maybe not the most satisfying answer, but
well, no, to be honest, I mean, I think that any narrative game that's open to the community has a much greater chance of success, because nothing makes a game interesting as to say, I can make my own content for this. So I always think it's a very good idea. But in any case, until people get used to the narrative aspect and how to take narrative control of the game, I think they're going to be pretty busy with the content that you're going to be releasing anyway. So, I mean, it's going to take a while for that to be necessary, I hope.
Yeah, but I completely agree. I think for the longevity of the game, we still have plans to drop in extra special stuff, potentially seasonal stuff, and new content updates, obviously bug fixes and stuff like that. But I think the idea of there basically being a truly infinite, ever expanding pool of player created content is something that appeals to me personally. I think we've all had good experiences with modding in the past. It's actually been a big part of Harebrained Schemes games, like that modding and that content creation has been a part of that, from Shadowrun to Battletech now officially supporting modded content. with the latest updates. And some of my best experience playing games like in the past was playing like modded online stuff for Neverwinter Nights back in the day by BioWare.
Yes,
love those roleplay servers. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. God, how many hours I've spent modding Neverwinter Nights. It's so much. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's how I feel when I think about it.
Exactly. Okay, so by the time this interview is out, the Kickstarter campaign will have finished. How's the game going to be available? Is it going to be a late pledge? What's going to happen?
Yeah, so we're gonna allow for some late pledges as well for a period of time. I don't know exactly how big that window is right now, but even after that, we are planning to make sure we put up a web store so that folks who missed out for any reason have a chance to get their hands on the game in the future. And then I don't know if we run out of copies, I guess we can always look forward to doing. Yeah, that's a good problem to have.
That would be a great problem to have.
I would love for that to happen, and then we'll eventually relaunch it and make sure it's more accessible to the next round of players.
Good. So okay, now to finish, yes, the last question is, what is the future of the ideal future of this game for you? What would you like to see happening with this?
My most perfect future for Sea of Legends is that it becomes a ever-expanding series in which we get to experience things like piracy in the East China Sea. We get to go and experience like even what's the word for it? I want to do Vikings, so I want to do some Viking pirates. I want to explore what is the word for it? The Barbary Coast. Barbary Coast was a big deal in North Africa. Had a huge amount of piracy before the Age of Sail as well. So I think those three places would potentially be great. Potentially also doing Mediterranean pirates. I would love to expand it so that you have all these different maps, all these new captains, all these new different cards, but ultimately you could play with any previous or other set of captains or crew or whatever and bring them into these other worlds as you choose. So you can mix and match them however you want.
That sounds pretty good, but you know what I would really love to see?
What would you like to see?
I'd love to see a series based on the adventures written by your contributors. So Netflix, get on it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking small ball. You're thinking syndication. You're thinking franchise. Yeah, you're right.
Absolutely. I think can you actually imagine having Netflix saying, "Ooh, we like your stuff. Let's take your authors. Let's make a whole half an hour episode or an hour episode of each one of your adventures." That'd be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I would like explode with happiness. I mean, making the trailer was like as close as we've gotten to that, and that was super fun to script out and to build with the animator. So I'm all for that. I've also started writing a Sea of Legends RPG that I'm going to try to like build and maybe we'll release.
Stop. There's no maybe to that, man. You have to release that now. You're going to say that, not release it. Come on, don't do this to me. Don't do this to me.
All right, well, I said it here, so now I'm on the hook to produce something at some point.
World, you're welcome. Yeah. Right, okay. Right, okay. And now to wind down a little bit, I just have 3 more questions to ask you.
Okay.
And see what happens. Okay. What's the best advice that no one has ever given you?
Wow, best advice that no one has given me.
Yep.
Wow. That's a fascinating, that's a real head scratcher.
Yes. And there are 2 more to come.
So I think something that would be good to hear is, well, no, those are things people have said to me. I think more reminders in general to take a break, to relax, to not get completely obsessed with your work, and to give yourself a break sometimes, and play other games. That's important. So that's advice that I'm sure I need to hear more of. I'm sure someone said it to me, but I was too busy working, not paying attention.
Okay, that's a good answer. Very good answer indeed. Right, second question. What's the best mistake that you would like to make again?
Ooh, that's a really good one. I mean, I guess the best mistake was working full time in tabletop RPGs, and I would still totally do it again in a heartbeat because it's so much fun, even though it's like extremely slim margins and very risky, and it didn't quite work out for me the first time around. Yeah.
Okay.
Can't help it.
Okay, well, fair enough. Okay, and last question. Imagine that you have a time machine, and of course you go back in time, and you meet your 10-year-old self, and you tell to your 10-year-old self, do not do this. What is this?
Ooh. Oh, do not do this. There's like the easy ones. I should have never angled my bike so low when I was taking that corner around my house that one time where it gets really gravelly, and I definitely slipped and got a bunch of rocks in my knee. I definitely would have told 10-year-old me not to do that.
Okay.
Maybe not quite the answer you were looking for.
No. I wasn't looking for any answer. Any answer is a good answer.
First thing that comes to mind. I'm still traumatized from that spill.
Exactly. That's absolutely fine. You're welcome for the catharsis. Totally fine.
Thank you. The therapy session's free.
Ryan, thank you. Seriously, so much for being with me today. I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased that the project has been such a ginormous success, and with still a couple of days to go, it is probably going to break the $400,000 quite easily, which would be amazing. So thank you for being with me, and I look forward to seeing what else comes up in the future.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to ask some really great questions.
Thank you. It's been very well worth it. And that is it for today. I think Ryan has made some fantastic points, absolutely fantastic points. And the whole way that they've gone about designing Sea of Legends, it just feels so right. And I like how they, as many games have tried in the past, trying to, reach the happy medium between role-playing games and board games. And there is something about this. I cannot put my finger on it. I guess I will if I ever see this game. But there is something about it that feels so right. So right. So please take a look at the late pledge or whatever it is they're setting in place for you to be able to get this game after the Kickstarter has finished. Next week is going to be my last interview of this season. It's going to be with Peter Wax, who's a person I interviewed 5 years ago. I had completely forgotten what an absolutely amazing guy he is. And I am truly looking forward to getting that interview out. That is really exciting. Trust me, it's very, very exciting. And after that, I'm going to take a month break to plan the next 10 or 20 interviews. And I will be back in, perhaps July, August at the latest. And in the meantime, I hope you're keeping safe, both from, thugs and rioters who are disrupting the Black Lives Matters demonstrations in the US and the coronavirus that is still going around. Please stay safe. I want to see you back healthy and in one piece. So until the next time, thank you so much for being there. It is truly and genuinely appreciated. And I will talk to you very soon indeed. Take care.